wanna sleep in, cause I got something to prove. I gotta take what I hate and finally make a move. I think of you and all the shit you don't do.
Hey, this is Zach Pasquarello. Oh, that's okay. How's it going? You're still in high school. That's crazy. You have 30,000 saved up, or you and your friends have 30,000? And do they want to get in the box truck business with you, or is it just your idea? That's crazy. So what are you concerned about first? Are you concerned about just getting a loan for a box truck, or maybe not being able to get your authority, or kind of what are you thinking about? Yeah, especially you being the business that you're selling shoes right now. Or do you have tax returns? Do you have income reported on that, or is it all cash off the books? Have you considered getting a job right after high school for a couple years, or is that not even an option? Like 100% you want to start a business as soon as you graduate high school? Yeah, I mean, man, you've got so much potential right now. You're so young. It's pretty cool that you have all these options. So if I could go back in time, I'm hesitant to even tell you to get a job because, I mean, I hated having a job. But I feel like you might be able to learn a lot if you get an actual job, you know, coming right out of high school. You might be able to learn a lot just about the industry and about working. Have you ever considered, I want to back up. Do you want to own a box truck business and just be a driver, or do you want to be a box truck business owner and like have like 5 to 10 trucks and just like run the big picture operations? Or are you more looking at just being a driver? Yeah. So I think right now you have 3 options. So if I could go back in time, I think, and if I just strictly wanted to start a trucking business, I think it would be really good for you to get your CDL and be a company driver for 1 year. You can learn so much, you can make really good money. The second option, maybe try to work as a mechanic, like in an auto shop, or, you know, be a diesel mechanic. That would be amazing experience for you. But if you're not even trying to get a job, like, no way. Like, I understand. I was 18 years old one time, and like every day that went by, you just feel like it's forever. So like for me, like I'm 28 years old now. So for me to think about being 18 again, like I would not mind spending a couple years as a truck driver or spending a couple years as a mechanic just to learn things kind of in a safe environment. Because like you being 18, like you've got so much time, but like, you know, there's also a lot of risk associated with that. So don't completely forget about the possibility of just being an employee. I'm not saying for 5 or 10 years. I'm saying for like 12 months. Like I think you would learn a lot if you got your CDL and were a CDL driver, or if you were a mechanic. So those 2 options are there. That's super easy to do. You can also make really good money. You can make like 20, 25 bucks an hour in either of those 2 jobs. So that's an option. But if that's not even an idea, you know, that's very basic, that's very simple, that's very easy, anybody can do that. But if you want to start a box truck business, I don't see what would stop you, other than potentially maybe getting a loan from a bank. But I don't know, you know, what your family situation is like, but if you have anybody who would be willing to like co-sign on a loan for a box truck, that might be an option. You could probably find a cheap-ish truck for like $40,000 right now. So if you have $10,000 to spend on a down payment, that should be plenty of money to get you a $40,000 box truck. And if you can actually, all the paperwork, seriously not hard. Like you can do it in 2 months. It's really not a big deal. Probably the most challenging thing for you is going to be securing the money, securing the funds to get a loan, just because you probably don't have, I mean, you said you were running your shoe business off the books, so you probably don't have very strong tax returns. And that's a big thing that loan officers look at. They look at like your past 2 or 3 years of income tax returns to see like, okay, this kid made $50,000 for the past 3 years, like he's got a good job. But it sounds like you probably don't have that. So if you can get a truck, then you can probably make $1,500 a week if you hustle. If you're willing to put in the work, if you're willing to go out for a week at a time and then come home, go out for a week, you know, stay in very cheap hotels, or just, you know, sleep in your truck. You know, that's kind of against the rules, but people do it all the time. But you can make $1,500 a week, and you would have barely no expenses. You could probably save 1,000 of that a week. And so if you just do that then right there, you would have another $24,000 and 6 months of business experience. You would have $24,000. That'd be plenty of money to buy a second truck and hire a driver, or to buy a semi truck and hire a driver. So, I mean, I definitely think Are you graduating this spring? When do you turn 18? Are you already 18? Have you set up an LLC and have you gotten a business checking account? Have you done all of that stuff? Yeah, that whole process probably takes like close to 30 days. Like getting the LLC is going to take 2 weeks, and then getting your business checking account set up and getting all the paperwork processed, you're probably looking at like another week or two. So, and that's super simple. Like setting up an LLC is probably going to cost you like $50, maybe $100, depending on the state. I know in Pennsylvania it's $70 to set up an LLC. And then to get a business checking account, that's free. And then to apply for business credit cards, that's free. To apply for fuel cards, that's free. To apply for like an Easy Pass, that costs $35, but that's basically nothing. So for less than $100, you could really get started on a lot of the administrative paperwork, and you could just do it like after school or on the weekends, whenever you have downtime. I would recommend maybe looking into getting started with that. But I mean, man, I don't think anything would stop you from starting this business this summer and just being a box truck business owner at 18 years old, fresh out of high school. That'd be awesome. So there's a quote that I love, and it's the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago, and the second best time to plant a tree is today. And basically what that means is, if you can go back in time, sure, it would have been great to start your box truck business whenever the industry was booming, but the freight industry is a lot like the stock market. And I don't know how much you know about the stock market, but obviously it goes up, it goes down. We have recessions, we have crashes, we have really strong months, really strong years, and it's the same thing with the freight industry. The cost of freight was really strong in 2021. And now in 2022, it's going back down to where it was like in 2020 and 2019. So yes, the cost of freight is decreasing, and the price of diesel is going up, which doesn't make sense. You would think if diesel were going up, the cost of freight should also be going up, so we get paid more, but it doesn't work like that. But it's just the way the industry works. Like there are ups, there are downs. I would never look at the stock market and say, oh, now's a bad time to get in it. I would never look at the trucking business and say now's a terrible time to get in it. I mean, there are good times, there are bad times, but it's impossible to predict when is a good time and when is a bad time. Because if you look at today and say, oh, today's not a very good time, I'm going to wait 6 months. Well, in 6 months, it might even be worse than it was today. So you would have been better off starting today instead of in 6 months. So it's just impossible to know. No one can predict the future. It's impossible to know what's going to happen in the future. And I would never let that scare you from starting a trucking business, because no matter how much diesel costs, no matter how much freight is paying, no matter what the industry is, I really believe that you can still be profitable, you can still have a successful business as long as you are doing things the right way. As long as you're looking at the numbers, constantly analyzing the data, working really, really hard. Like if you start this box truck business, it will be the hardest thing you ever do. I promise you. It's going to be way harder than anything. It's way harder than anything I've ever done, and I'd be willing to bet it's going to be, way harder than any job you've ever had before in the past. But as long as you're running a tight operation, and as long as you're analyzing the data, and as long as you're working really hard, it doesn't matter what the industry is doing. It doesn't matter how much diesel costs per gallon. You will be successful. So with all that being said, I don't think now is a bad time to get into the business. I think now is a worse time than it was a year ago, but I wouldn't let that stop you from getting into the business now. So I'm a little biased, I think, when it comes to starting a partnership with anybody else. I am always very cautious to do that. I think there's a lot of risk in starting a business with your friends because you don't know someone until you open up a business and start losing money or start making money with somebody else. Things can get really ugly really fast, and it could ruin your entire business if you don't communicate very well with your friends. You guys were boys in high school playing basketball, whatever, but all of a sudden now you're talking about thousands of dollars, and things are way different now. I started my business on my own. I'm really happy I did it. Sure, I probably could have gotten $30,000 or $40,000 more dollars, but if I were you, I would start the business on your own if you can, because you're going to have a lot less headache, a lot less risk. I mean, obviously massive companies are started with other people, but you can leverage banks, and it sounds like maybe your parents might be able to help you co-sign a loan. It is a little different because you don't have the experience of the tax returns and the income and the credit score to get a loan. I would not start my business with my friends if I were you. What you can do is you can start a business now and make it profitable and make it successful, and then potentially find outside investors to to invest in your business that way, and then you can secure more funds. But there's really no advantage. I mean, this might sound harsh, but like I don't think there's any advantage starting a business with someone else other than the fact that it sounds cool and it seems fun in the beginning until you start having conflict and having to make hard decisions, and then your friendship just gets ruined and your business goes along with it. So, long story long, I would recommend start the business on your own. Don't include anybody else unless you absolutely have to. Man, even family. I mean, you just got to think, if you are starting a partnership, so there's two different ways that you can work with your family. Like, you can both be owners of the company, or you can be the 100% owner of the company, and then your parents can help out. Like, those are two very, very different things. And your parents can even lend you money. Like, just because someone gives you money doesn't mean they have to have ownership equity in the company. So like, your parents could easily lend you money at 6%, 8%, 10%, whatever interest rate they think is appropriate. They can go through an attorney, sign the documents, make it all legit. They can lend you money without being owners of the company. Just like, the way I look at it, I am in the process, I'm very ambitious, so I'm in the process of starting a multi-million-dollar company. And like, I don't really need any help right now necessarily from the operations standpoint in terms of equity. Like, obviously I need help, I outsource so many things, but I don't really need other people to own this company with me. And like, I'm gonna have an incredibly successful company, and like, at the end of the day, do you really want to share that, all that net income and all that profit with somebody else? And maybe you do. Just think really long and hard about giving percent ownership of your company, even to your brother, your sister, your mom, your dad. Like, family is amazing, but going into business with family can get, same thing with your friends. It can get really complicated really fast. But that's not to say that you can't work with your family members. If you want to start this business and then, hire your dad to be the chief operating officer of the company, like, that's cool. But maybe not necessarily give him percent ownership of the company. That's just my opinion. I don't know. I mean, if you really have your heart set on, opening up a business with your parents or your siblings, like, it's not a terrible idea, but me personally, I wouldn't do it. I have no idea, but you can find out very easily. After this phone call, I can give you my insurance agent, and all you need is a VIN number of a truck. So what you can do is you can look up a truck online, find a box truck from Penske or Ryder or commercialtrucktrader.com, get the VIN number, and just ask him for a quote. He's going to ask for your driver's license and the VIN number of the truck, and he'll give you a quote for insurance. It's super simple, no strings attached. He's not going to run like a credit check on your credit score, and that'll be the exact answer. So I don't know how much insurance is going to cost for you. For me, it costs $1,100 per month. I've seen it go up as high as $2,000 a month. I've seen it a little bit higher than $2,000 a month. But if you can get insurance for less than $1,500 a month, then that's average. You're good. But if it's between $1,500 and $2,000, that's pretty high. And if it's anything above $2,000 a month, that's really, really high. And then maybe reconsider some things from there. But it's as simple as reaching out to an insurance agent, getting a quote, and then going from there. That's a great question. What makes companies go out of business? Growing too quickly is bad. And I've actually looked at that for my company. Like, you don't want to get too many trucks too quickly. Growing too quickly, because if you get 4 or 5 trucks in 2 or 3 years, and all of a sudden, because like once you start dealing with 4 or 5 trucks, you start dealing with thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars on a weekly basis. And so cash flow is a serious issue, especially whenever you grow too quickly. So you want to save your cash as much as possible, because you're always going to need cash. Like, cash is very important when you're trying to grow a business. So don't grow too quickly, and just implement processes in the beginning, and don't break the rules. So pay your taxes, do your payroll, file with the Department of Transportation and the FMCSA, like file all of those things. Just don't break the rules. Like, don't do anything shady. Like, don't try to save $1,000 today by breaking the rules, because the fine is going to be $5,000 and it's going to put you out of business next year. Like, saving a couple $1,000s today is not worth breaking the rules and going out of business. So don't grow too quickly, don't break the rules. And then third, find good employees. Like, finding trucks is easy, finding loads is easy, doing repairs on your truck, like all that stuff is easy. But the hardest part about any business, not just the trucking business, but any business, is just finding good employees, hiring good employees, and maintaining good employees. Just keeping them happy, keeping them working for you. Like, I had a CDL driver for my tractor. He quit after 2 months. Like, that was devastating. My truck was out of commission for 10 days. No one was driving it. I had to hire a whole new employee. I had to go through the whole hiring process. I had to teach them everything else all over again. Like, just having not being able to find employees will 100% put you out of business. Like, if you can't find drivers, you can't have a trucking business. But if you continue to have really bad turnover, your business is going to fail, because you're just going to be spending so much time and energy just hiring and training new people. So if you can just develop a system where you can find good employees, and then just be like, really being a trucking business owner from our standpoint, like from the early stages, like whenever you hire a driver, you're just a manager. You're a general manager at that point. Like, your sole job is just to manage your dispatcher and your truck driver, make sure they're doing a good job first and foremost, and that they're happy. Like, if they're doing a good job, that's good. And if they're happy, you're set. Like, that's all you need. Those are the two things you need to run a successful trucking company. Have good drivers and have happy drivers, and you'll be fine. Should you buy your truck for cash or not? It all depends on what kind of loan you can get. So whenever I was trying to buy my CDL tractor, like, the best loan I could get was 20% interest. I'll never do that. So I ended up paying $65,000 cash for my CDL truck. So I kind of had to do that. I was in a fortunate situation where I had the cash to spend on a truck like that, but the only time I would ever use my cash again is if you just can't find a loan. Like, it's all, like, if you can find a loan for less than 10%, always do the loan. Like, it's always better to save your cash no matter what. In case of emergency, like you say, cash is king. If you have cash in the bank, you'll be fine. But as soon as you start spending all your cash, you're going to be put in a really difficult situation. And then whether or not you get a truck on Facebook Marketplace, or from a dealership, or from a mechanic, or another trucking company, like, it doesn't necessarily matter where you get the truck. It just matters that you get a new-ish truck. Like, I bought a 2010 box truck, and it's been fine. Looking back, I kind of wish... Excuse me. Sorry. Looking back, I kind of wish that I would have bought, like, a newer-ish truck, like, I think 2016. So, like, 4 to 6 years old is probably as old as I'll ever go again. 4 to 6 years old, and then with that, like, a decently low number of miles. Like, for a box truck, anything less than 200,000 is great in terms of mileage. And then third and most importantly, just make sure you have a mechanic inspect the truck before you buy it, especially if you're buying from a private dealership. Like, if you find good truck for $10,000 on Facebook Marketplace and it seems too good to be true, it probably is. So just have a trusted, reliable diesel mechanic thoroughly inspect that truck. I would spend $300 to have a diesel mechanic inspect the truck before I bought it, and in hopes that, he verifies it and checks it over. Like, $300 might sound like a lot of money when you're just getting started, but $5,000 in repairs a month after you buy the truck is a lot of money. So spend a couple $100 up front, get it inspected by a legit diesel mechanic, and that'll save you headaches down the road. But always try to get a loan if you can. Try to save your cash.